This is Outnumbered, and I'm Melissa Francis. Here today is Fox News correspondent Jillian Turner, attorney and Fox News contributor Emily Compagno, syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, and joining us today, Executive Vice President of the King's College in New York City and Fox News contributor Brian Brenberg. And Brian, Leslie, you are also out there in California. Are you itching to move up to Chaz?
No, and I love the Pacific Northwest, but there's just not enough sunshine in Seattle for me, and I'm not just talking about because of this situation. Look, I love peaceful protest. Throwing rocks or imitating some kind of an explosive device is not peaceful, and Emily lives there. She sees better 15 blocks than I do. But one thing that we're not always seeing is what happened yesterday, for example, where the police actually came to talk to these individuals, and you saw many of these individuals protecting the police, and there were some that asked them to leave, but there was not violence against the police. I think that the first thing you have to do is you have to let the state government and the city government try to take their city back. And I think one of the ways you do that is you sit down and you talk about some of these demands that these individuals have made. And quite frankly, some of these demands are fair, but some of these demands are just not going to happen. And I think that's the best way to move forward. And I think that's the best way to keep safety for everyone involved.
Leslie, I hear that from Democrats every day. People that maybe are not necessarily watching every day even, just saying he's way ahead in the polls. Joe Biden is clearly going to win. Is there a danger in relying on these polls that do show that?
Yes. We relied on polls in 2016, and our candidate, Hillary Clinton, didn't win. Not only is it a very different time, COVID-19 and certainly the murder of Mr. George Floyd, but we have a candidate who even Bernie Sanders says he has a different and better relationship with than he did with Hillary Clinton. And I feel that the mood in the country is very different than it was in 2016. 2016 came off the heels of 2 terms of President Obama. Now we're on the heels of what did a Trump presidency look like, and now America has seen that. And I think the polls are reflecting that. And I think I wrote a piece today for Fox that's out this morning about I think that people are mad as heck and they don't want to take it anymore. That's what we're seeing in the polls. Joe Biden, by the way, left his basement when he met with the Floyd family. He left his basement when he spoke in person in Philly. He left his basement when he got on his knees with protesters to hear what their gripes were. And I think that's the difference. We're seeing a difference between a president that is tweeting and talking about law and order and a presidential hopeful on the left with the former Vice President Joe Biden, of somebody that is trying to empathize and talking about grief as somebody who has lost a son, a daughter, and a wife, and listen to the concerns of the people. They're very different messages, and Joe Biden's message is being very well received, the polls show.
Stocks looking to make a comeback after the Dow's worst trading day yesterday since March. This comes amid concerns over a potential second wave of the coronavirus as cases increase in some states that reopened a few weeks ago. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin says the U.S. should not shut down the economy again if cases surge. And White House Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow says there is no cause for alarm at this point.
I spoke to our health experts at some length last evening. They are saying there is no second spike. Let me repeat that. There is no second spike. And as Secretary Mnuchin said yesterday in testimony, and I totally agree, we are not going to shut down the economy. What you do have is certain spots are seeing a little bit of a jump up. Some small metropolitan areas are seeing it. The CDC and the health people are all over it. They've sent some task forces out to deal with it.
So, Leslie, you're out in the middle of a city that has a shutdown that's going to go in places there all the way through the end of the summer. As people are talking about, you know, is there a second wave? Are they going to shut down again? You guys aren't even out of the first one yet. What is that like?
It's frustrating. I'm not a very patient person, but I also know it's necessary. If you look at two different examples, if you look at New York and Governor Cuomo saying, look at our numbers, and people are saying, wow, a city that once had the highest now has the lowest. But then if you look at what lax social distancing can do, as we're seeing in Arizona, where you have 83% capacity in the hospitals, that's a concern. I understand we're worried about bankrupting our nation, but if we bankrupt our healthcare system and continue to overburden healthcare personnel, that's going to be a far bigger danger than money, because we're talking about lives. And with all due respect to Larry Kudlow, who I know and I like, and I've known for years personally, I disagree with him, and the medical professionals that I've spoken to don't agree with him either, because quite frankly, we really don't know what's going to happen in the fall or winter with this virus. Viruses are very seasonal, and because we are seeing spikes in certain areas, and Maricopa County, where Phoenix is in Arizona, is not a small little area. There are millions of people there, and right now there are hospitals and doctors and healthcare professionals that are very concerned about what they're seeing and their capacity or lack of capacity for the numbers they see coming in right now.